it's Jasmine. I hope that you all are doing well. And it is February. We've just had Imbolc. I hope that if you celebrate, you had a really good Sabbat. I think we can all definitely agree that we're glad that January is over. It is such a long, dreadful, gray month. And in my family, there's always kind of been this joke that February is God's apology for January because it's a little bit shorter. But on the channel, what I really wanted to get into talking about this month is love and love magic. Live streamed the other night talking about the astrological forecast and looking at how full the 7th house is in astrology. The 7th house, if you don't know, is the house of Libra. Libra is ruled by the planet Venus, so we have some love goddess energy there. And this house is very, very full. The 7th house of Libra is often associated with love, partnerships, and marriages. And we have various factors at play there. And you can watch the live stream to get all of that information if you're interested. Really talk about love and what love means and what love can mean in the craft and how we can utilize witchcraft to enhance
and intensify
love, to bring a new lover or to enhance love that's already there. I would like to talk about self-love as well and the different types of love in general. So we really have these 8 main different types of love. The first type of love that we're going to talk about would be Eros. This would be a very
lustful, erotic, sensual, sexual kind of love.
This might be the type of love that maybe comes to your mind when you hear the word love. This type of love would be Philia, more of the affectionate, emotional-based love. We would also have Storge, which would be more familial type love, friendship, family. We have Ludus, more of a playful, more youthful sort of love, maybe a puppy love, if you will. Mania, more of an obsessive-based love that can sometimes be very intense and even potentially be dangerous. We have Pragma, which is more of an enduring love, a long-lasting love. We have Philotua, more of a self-love, loving thyself. And we have Agape, the selfless love. All of these different love types are different phases and how love can appear. You can utilize love for a beneficial or baneful aspect in your craft, depending on the intensity, the type of love, if it's directed at yourself or others or a space. I definitely plan to make more videos talking about different aspects of love magic, but for today, I want to focus specifically on romantic love. You can incorporate these different types of love that I mentioned earlier into your love magics. You can incorporate these words into the chants. You can incorporate these words into invocations to your spirits, and you can invoke that energy by using these words. Today's video is going to be specifically more so for someone who's already in a relationship. I will likely make other videos and other love magic style videos for people who are looking for more self-love or for people who are looking to maybe bring in a new lover. Today, we're specifically looking at enhancing a love that is already present and blessing a relationship through the power of love and sex and beauty, through working with love deities and gods to bless a relationship. This could be a spell that you could use to get that special someone to maybe propose or to add more into your already existing relationship, to take your relationship to the next level, or to continue to bless the relationship so that it may continue being good, that it doesn't get dull, that it doesn't get boring, and that you continuously fall more in love with the partner that you already have. So this is something kind of personal and a little bit intimate, and I don't always share stuff so openly like this on YouTube. So I'll probably have a little bit more of some descriptions here over on Patreon, but I did want to show you guys. So for this spell, what you're going to need, right? And this spell is to enhance love that is already present, enhance love that is already there. So if you're in a relationship, be it a long-term relationship or a new relationship, this spell would be for you. If right now maybe you're just dating, this spell would be for you, or if you're already married, this spell would be for you. But this spell is really catered towards an already existing relationship. Now, I feel like with talking about love magic, I have to kind of give a little bit of a disclaimer when it comes to love magic here. And this disclaimer may or may not be well received. I think that sometimes I have an unpopular opinion when it comes to how love magic really works. So with love magic, what you're basically doing is you're putting a magical, metaphorical, metaphysical seed in someone's heart. You're planting a seed. And you can influence and manipulate people, for better or worse, with your magic. Absolutely. Love spells are something that are very popular in the craft. And I think something that, you know, people are very interested in as well. A lot of times people want to do a love spell on a specific person who they're already not in a relationship with. Maybe they have a crush on this person or they like this person and they want to do a love spell and make this person fall madly in love with them. I feel like that really only works maybe 4 times out of 10, if that. And the reason being is the metaphorical, metaphysical seed of your love magic that you are planting in someone's heart or lower to get someone to desire you, to love you, to lust after you, to want you. The soil that you plant that seed in has to allow for the fertility and the growth of that seed. If the soil is corrupt or if the soil is not meant for that seed, the seed that you plant, no matter how many candles and invocations you say, it is not going to grow. So you can kind of think of this a little bit agriculturally, how we have different growing zones. You know, if you live in zones 1 through 4 or zones 4 through 6 or whatever, different plants or herbs, trees, whatever, are going to take better in those climates. And love magic is very similar, where you're planting this seed. The recipient of your spell, assuming that you are doing this on a person, not a place or thing, but the recipient of the spell has to be willing to receive it. Maybe they're not head over heels in love with you, but maybe they're fascinated by you or intrigued by you or interested in you on a superficial level. If you at least have that, your magic can kind of be there to like influence and build more desire that way. But if they're completely uninterested or not attracted to you at all, no, I do not believe there's any amount of magic in the world that is going to be able to completely make them want to fall head over heels in love with you and desire you in an emotional or sexual way whatsoever. And I think it's important to also address kind of the magical philosophy here that let's just humor for a second that that's how magic really did work. And you could print off a picture of this person who you have this big crush on and burn a red novena candle over the photo for 7 days and do your incantations. And once that candle burned all the way through, they would be obsessed with you. If that's really how it worked, and if we're humoring it, if that person really, it's not in their free will to really love you, first of all, your love would be disingenuous and built on falsehoods from the beginning, which is a terrible way to start a relationship, and in a way that's very much like spiritual. I'm trying to think of the word that I can use here on YouTube because I have to be very careful, but kind of like the 4-letter R word, very much like spiritual that, because you're imposing yourself sexually onto someone or romantically onto someone when those advances would not be wanted. So that's not really entertained in most metaphysical spaces. There's really not much of a difference there between doing that and the physical, because everything that is done in the astral and the physical mirrors itself. So if you are actually willing to attempt to strip away someone's free will completely, because there is a difference between influencing someone's free will or maybe manipulating environmental forces to line up for a positive outcome versus trying to completely break or strip away someone's free will just so that way they would desire you. That is kind of sick, and I don't think that's how magic works anyway, but if it did, you wouldn't be a witch who I would want to associate with. Now, so for this spell, you should already be in a relationship. So that would be the first ingredient, we will say. Next up, I would go ahead and get you some coconut oil. I think coconut oil is a oil that often isn't used or really talked much about magically, but think for a second how coconut oil can change its shape. If the oil is in a warmer spot, it's going to be more of a liquid. And if it's more in a cooler spot, it's going to be more solid. I think that these powers of transmutation and transformation that coconut oil would inherently have as it does change its shape really gives a nice element of something long-lasting and enduring in this spell. So you're also going to need a container. For this spell, this is several years old. This spell is going to last you. You're going to keep it. I'm going to explain it. Anyway, you're going to want to get a nice jar. Now, I bought a heart-shaped glass jar, which I will show you what it looks like here in a moment. But I bought a heart-shaped glass jar for this, but you could use any type of glass jar. I would not use plastic. I would use glass. Once you have your jar, you're going to want to cleanse it. So whatever herbs you use to cleanse with, or whatever your cleansing method is, whether that be visualization or smoke or giving it a cleansing bath or whatever, go ahead and cleanse your bottle. Once the bottle has been cleansed, you're going to then first put in your dry ingredients, and putting a photo of you and your partner inside of the container, because you're casting this spell over the relationship. So you want to make sure that you have a photograph with both of you in the photo, and make sure that it's small enough that you can fit it inside of your jar. Don't put it on the outside, put it on the inside. After your photograph is in there, which on the back of the photograph, you can write out your chant, or you can write your will for the relationship on the back of the photograph if you choose to, and if that feels right to you, because this is all about what is going to feel like it makes sense to you. So what I say here, this is what I have done. I've been in a long-lasting relationship for over a decade. We're happily married. This spell has worked for us. Maybe this spell might work for you. Maybe on the back of the photograph, what you write is, may we fall more in love with each other every day, or may our relationship be fulfilling, or may our relationship be unbridled by outside forces, or may we always work in harmony and unison, or may our communication be blessed. You're going to put that on the photograph. You could also put your astrological information like sun, moon, rising, your partners, or your Venus signs. You could draw a pentacle or a pentagram over this, really customize the back of it to be your own. Then put it inside of the jar. Once that's inside of the jar, then you can put other dry ingredients in there. Dry ingredients that I use at the time of this, when it was first created, I had saved some flowers that my now husband, but at the time boyfriend, had bought me. I had saved them, I had preserved them, and to me, those flowers were a symbol of our love that we had in our youth, as we've been together for, like I said, over a decade. So I put those flowers inside of the jar because they were a sympathetic magic link to love from our youth, our puppy love phase. Of course, you're gonna have a hard time finding a love spell that doesn't use roses in some capacity. Rose hips, rose petals, rose buds, pick whatever you like there. I also did add some jasmine petals as well. Jasmine is often associated with harmony and friendship. And for me, it's important that my partner can also be a friend or a confidant. in the relationship. So I put jasmine petals in there as well. I also added a little bit of salt to kind of keep the energy inside the jar cleansed and pure, and, you know, to kind of keep any toxicity detoxed outside of our relationship, so that, you know, as we age, as we go throughout the years together, as we change, especially in your 20s, you change so much. And we were so young when we got together. So I think having something that's very transformative in there, like the coconut oil itself, or having some salt in there, can help prevent you from growing apart from your partner. I also added a little bit of lavender in there for some peace, for some serenity. I also added some chamomile in there for kind of the similar reason. So fill it with flowers that speak to you. You can put a little saffron in there for some richness and luxury, a little basil for some money, maybe some rue or some rosemary for some protection, but really think full circle about the relationship and about what you want, and add those herbs into the jar. You know, don't just think about enhancing the love, also think about protecting the love. Think about multiplying the love, intensifying the love. You know, really get creative with this. Once you do that, then you're going to pour your liquid in over it. And I would also recommend using some sort of personal item from you and your partner. So that might be some of your partner's hair. That might be some of your partner's fluids. You know, think outside the box there and get some sort of item from your partner. Oftentimes it's very easy to get hair after they get their hair cut, or from a hairbrush. That's an easy method. Or if they shave and their hair's in the sink or whatever, you can find a way to get a personal item. And if you're already in a relationship and you live together, it should be fairly easy to get something from that person into the jar. And then I would also take an item from yourself, a personal item from yourself. So maybe your saliva, or your hair. For this personally, you know, I made a video about blood magic that you can go back and watch. I'm not going to tell you not to use blood. I'm just going to tell you that every time you are using blood, you are putting a part of your soul into the work. So even though I love my partner and do not want to part, I probably wouldn't necessarily try to create some sort of soul link in blood. And that's just me, because things theoretically can always change. And I love our relationship, and I foresee it lasting a long time and being together, being happy. But I just don't think, for me, using blood in this spell is appropriate for me. But if you choose to put blood in yours and you want to link yourself in the physical, the digital, and the astral to your partner in life and in death, then that's your choice. And that's valid. I mean, do what feels right to you. It's not what I would do. I will say that. Once you have all of the liquid now in the jar, in the container, you've added all of the items in there, you should get some sort of charm. In this case, I have a heart-shaped charm that I used some hemp and tied around the bottle. So there's 2 hearts here. There's that imagery, that symbology of 2 hearts becoming one, because the jar is heart-shaped, and then the charm that's on it is heart-shaped. And the charm is what is chanted and prayed over and then affixed into the jar. And then you're also going to be chanting, singing while you're creating the jar. You can do this with your partner as an act of love together, or if your partner is not a practitioner, you can do this yourself. I think that it would be beneficial for, I think you can do this yourself. We'll leave it there. So then on top of the jar, you're going to seal the jar and feed the jar. And you're going to do this by lighting chime candles and burning them on top of the jar. Now, you might pick just white or just black or different colored chime candles. That's really up to you. I typically burn 1 white, 1 red, 1 black chime candle. These are very sacred, personal, intimate colors to me, to my goddess, to my divinities. That's why I use those colors. I use the black chime candle to shroud my relationship and protection. So that way any outside forces would not be affecting our relationship with each other, to protect us and to shroud and cloak the relationship and protection. And also our home as well. As we live together, we're married, we're a couple, we share assets together, and protecting us and ours, or any future offspring, and our families. The white candle I use to bless our relationship. So the black one I use more in a protective way and more in a, I guess, defensive way. And, you know, the white one is more about also defense, but through blessings. So to, you know, bless our relationship with communication, with an open mind, open heart, an ability to listen. And then the red one is for sex and passion and lust and desire. Those are things that are important in our relationship. I burn all three of these on top of the jar together. And I also think it's a good idea to layer up, when you're doing that protection, kind of what I call like an Egyptian booby trap, in the sense that if anyone comes for this relationship in the digital, the physical, or the astral, you know, may they be swiftly brought down to their knees, and may it never penetrate the contents of the jar. So you set this up however you want. I'm going to show you kind of what my jar here looks like. So this is my heart jar. I think I have a video from maybe 4 or 5 years ago called Love Juju Pot, where I show you kind of how to make this. But I have saved this throughout the moves and throughout the years. And I don't know how well you can see in here, but there is a photo of us. There's kind of candle wax over the middle of us there, but there's a photo of us in there, all the ingredients in here. And the thing that I love about this is that this is a long-lasting, you know, very special, sacred piece of your relationship, manifested in a physical, artistic way. Typically, this sits up on a shelf in my office space here. And every time I sit down to film or record, I see it. And just the visual of looking at it can serve as a good reminder. And you can see that there's been candles burned on top. This has been with me through multiple moves and several years. I think this jar is probably about 5 or 4 years old-ish. And typically, every year in February, between Imbolc and Valentine's Day, I will have my candlelit ceremony where I burn the candles on top of here. And then there's also an incantation. I'm not going to be sharing the incantation here on YouTube, as that's something very personal to me and to my practice, but I will be sharing a print of it from my Book of Shadows, my personal Book of Shadows, and posting that on Patreon. So if you are on Patreon, you can definitely check that out if you would like to see my love bind invocation. Or if you're not on Patreon, you can subscribe, go check it out, unsubscribe, whatever, but that's not going to be posted publicly here on YouTube. So once you burn those candles, let those candles burn all the way through until they've burnt all the way down. And then you can keep that on your altar or your ritual space for that time being, or you can store it somewhere. I like to store mine someplace like my office, where it's not a common area of our home. So, you know, people who come over, maybe they don't always see it. And I have a large trinket shelf behind my desk here that has many things on it, and this is one of those that sits there. But this is not just a trinket, this is really a spell contained within that bottle. And like I said, what I really like about using that coconut oil is when it's in a cooler environment, it's more of a solid. So it kind of keeps the spell kind of contained inside the jar and protects it. But you could theoretically heat this up and allow the magic to radiate through the glass and visualize the magic pouring out of the jar, the contents, the will, the magic radiating outward and filling up a space. So that's why I like to kind of feed it annually every year around this season. I hope that all of this has made sense. I know that I'm not doing a physical demonstration of how to do the spell, but hopefully you can still kind of visualize how this would work in your mind. And like I said earlier too, with love magic, it takes 2 willing consensual participants. So I don't credit the success of my marriage and my relationship just to this spell alone, though I do believe that this spell has helped greatly and can help kind of keep it together and influence it in a positive way. If at any time this jar were to break, because I feel like I was thinking maybe someone might leave that comment or be like, well, what do I do if the jar breaks? If the jar breaks, I would take that as more of a negative omen, that there could be something going on in the relationship. I might practice some divination if that were to happen. And then potentially after practicing some divination or having someone practice some divination for me, I would probably act accordingly to the cards. But if the jar just randomly were to break or shatter, that's typically not really seen of as like a positive omen. I hope that this video has been helpful, and I hope that if you do try out this spell, let me know how it goes. You know, comment down below and let me know. Also, let me know what other love-related content would you like to see this month. All right, until next time, blessed be.